Alex stepped off the shuttle and onto the busy docking platform of Aurora Haven. The station floated quietly above the purple clouds of Althera 7, a planet known for its strange magnetic storms and vivid skies. From above, the station looked like a giant silver ring, spinning slowly in space, but up close it was alive. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the hallways. Humans carried crates of supplies, and hovering drones zipped past with soft humming sounds. Alex, a human engineer, had been assigned to repair the central wing of the station. It was his first assignment outside Earth, and the excitement mixed with a hint of nervousness. He had heard stories about the aliens living and working in the station, but seeing them up close was something else entirely. Some had tentacles, others had feathers, and some glowed faintly from their bioluminescent skin. Alex tried not to stare too much, reminding himself to stay professional. His first task was simple: check the cooling systems of the new sector and make sure all energy conduits were stable. But as he walked through the corridors, he noticed something that made him pause. A small figure moved gracefully across the floor, picking up tools and tidying the area. At first, Alex assumed it was a drone, but as he came closer, he realized it was a living being. Lyra, an alien maid, had pale lavender skin that shimmered slightly in the station's lights. Her eyes were large and deep, reflecting the hallway like tiny pools of water. She carried a tray of cleaning instruments and moved with a slow, deliberate pace. Alex watched for a moment as Lyra bent over to pick up a fallen wrench. But something caught his attention. She bent over slowly, almost like she was performing a careful dance, and then the wrench slipped from her fingers, falling toward the floor. Alex expected a crash, but instead the wrench hovered just above the tiles for a second before landing softly, intact. Curious, Alex stepped closer. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you all right?" Lyra turned her head, her eyes meeting his. "I am functioning normally, human engineer," she said in a soft voice that carried a musical undertone. "Thank you for your concern." Alex smiled awkwardly. "Right, I just noticed. You seem to drop things sometimes. Is that—" He paused, unsure how to finish. "Part of the cleaning method?" Lyra tilted her head slightly as if considering his question. "It is an integral part of my procedure. It allows me to interact with objects more efficiently." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Interact efficiently?" Lyra nodded once. "Yes. My slow movements and controlled releases prevent accidental damage to delicate equipment. The objects are monitored as they fall. This ensures that they are not harmed and that their positions are optimized for future use." Alex frowned, trying to understand. "So you're not clumsy?" Lyra's lips curved into what seemed like a small smile. "Clumsiness is a human misconception, yes? My actions appear slow, but they are precise. Observation is key." Alex couldn't help but laugh quietly. "Well, that's actually impressive. I've never seen cleaning done like this." Lyra returned to her work, bending over slowly to lift a cleaning cloth. As usual, it slipped briefly from her hands, hovered, and then settled neatly back on the tray. Alex shook his head in amazement. He had seen robots and drones handle delicate items before, but none of them had this combination of grace, intelligence, and subtle power. For the next few hours, Alex focused on the cooling systems, occasionally glancing at Lyra. Each time she bent over, each time she dropped an item, Alex realized she was doing more than cleaning. Something about the way the objects responded to her presence suggested hidden technology, or perhaps a natural ability that humans didn't understand. During a short break, Alex approached her again. "Lyra, can I ask something?" he said. "Yes," she replied, her voice calm and even. Why does everything hover when you drop it? Is it some kind of gravity control?" Lyra paused, then nodded. "You are perceptive, yes. I can slightly adjust gravitational fields around objects I interact with. It allows me to control their movement and prevent damage. It is part of my design." Alex's eyes widened. "Your design?" "I am not merely a maid," Lyra explained. "I am integrated with alien technology to maintain and protect the station. What appears as cleaning is, in fact, an active management of the environment. My movements may seem slow to humans, but each is intentional." Alex couldn't hide his curiosity. "That's incredible. I never imagined a maid could do all that. Humans. We'd probably just break half the stuff while trying to clean." Lyra's large eyes blinked slowly, almost as if amused. "Humans are remarkable in other ways. Observation and adaptation are your strengths. I find your species' problem-solving abilities intriguing. Alex felt a mix of pride and surprise. Lyra wasn't just a servant or worker. She was an advanced being with abilities far beyond what he had expected, and she even appreciated humans in her own way. The rest of the day passed quickly. Alex continued inspecting the energy conduits while Lyra methodically cleaned the surrounding areas, dropping tools and materials in her slow, deliberate manner. He noticed that each time she dropped something, the object seemed to send tiny pulses of light or sound, as if analyzing the surroundings. By evening, Alex had completed most of his repairs, but he was still fascinated by Lyra. Her method of work challenged everything he thought he knew about efficiency and intelligence. He realized that humans often judge things by appearances, missing the hidden brilliance underneath. Lyra was a perfect example. As the station's artificial night cycle began, Alex walked toward the observation deck. The stars of Althera 7 stretched endlessly in the black sky, and he felt a strange calm. He thought about Lyra and her slow, precise movements. There was something almost poetic about the way she interacted with the world. Every fall, every hover, every gentle placement of an object was part of a pattern that humans couldn't easily see. Suddenly, a soft ping sounded from the control panel. Alex walked back to the maintenance room and saw that one of the conduits had an irregular reading. He glanced toward Lyra, who was bending over to adjust a tray of tools. The wrench she dropped hovered for a fraction of a second, then moved itself to the correct position. The conduit's warning light blinked off. Alex's jaw dropped. "You just fixed it." Without touching it, Lyra looked at him calmly. "Observation and adjustment. It is within my operational parameters to assist where necessary." Alex nodded slowly, beginning to understand. Lyra's slow, deliberate actions were not only for cleaning, they were part of a broader system that maintained the station. She was subtle, hidden yet powerful in her own way. Humans valued speed and direct action, but sometimes patience, precision, and understanding could accomplish far more. He sat down nearby, taking notes and studying her movements. Every item she dropped, every slow bend, every hover seemed to have a purpose. Alex realized that if humans could combine their ingenuity with the alien designs represented by Lyra, the results could be extraordinary. As the night deepened, Alex finally packed up his tools. Lyra was still at work, methodically moving through the room, bending over slowly and dropping small items that always landed perfectly. Alex smiled. He knew that tomorrow and the days after, he would be watching her closely, not just out of curiosity, but because he had discovered a new way to think about problem solving, about observation, and about teamwork between species. Lyra glanced at him, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "Human engineer," she said. "Your attention is noted. You are learning," Alex chuckled. "I think I have a lot to learn, Lyra." She inclined her head, returning to her work. Alex watched her for a while, fascinated by the quiet precision of her movements, the way each dropped object seemed to carry intelligence, and the subtle hint that even the smallest action could have a significant effect. And as he left the room, he realized that this strange, slow-moving alien maid had already begun teaching him something far more important than engineering: the value of careful observation, patience, and the hidden power that lay in actions that others might overlook. The next morning, Alex arrived early in the central hub of Aurora Haven. The station was already humming with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, some moving crates, others repairing panels, and drones zipped quietly overhead. Alex carried his toolkit and tried to focus on the repairs, but his mind kept wandering back to Lyra. He watched her as she moved through the hall. Once again, she bent over slowly to pick up a fallen panel clip. It slipped briefly from her fingers, but hovered gently before settling on the tray beside her. Alex had spent hours observing her yesterday, but now he was determined to understand exactly how she did it. "Lyra," he called softly as he approached. "Can I observe you more closely today? I want to understand your methods." Lyra paused mid-step and looked at him with her large, calm eyes. "Observation is acceptable. I will continue my tasks. You may study, but interference is not permitted." Alex nodded eagerly. "I won't interfere. I just want to learn." For the next hour, he followed her quietly. Every time she bent over to pick up a tool, it hovered for a moment, and sometimes faint lines of light seemed to ripple across the object. Alex jotted notes furiously. It wasn't just gravity. There was more going on. When a delicate alien device fell from her tray, it emitted a soft, pulsing glow. Alex's eyes widened. The object didn't break, but it seemed to be scanning the room, mapping its surroundings and perhaps checking for malfunctions. "Lyra," Alex said carefully, "these objects, are they scanning the area?" She turned to him and nodded. "Yes, each object I interact with is equipped with sensors. My actions trigger a controlled release, allowing the devices to transmit data back to the station network. This helps maintain optimal function and prevents damage or misalignment." Alex leaned closer. "So that your slow bending and dropping isn't clumsiness at all. It's a kind of management system?" Lyra's large eyes blinked slowly. "Correct. It appears inefficient, but each action is precise and intentional. I am designed to combine physical movement with environmental monitoring. Humans often rely on speed, but this method emphasizes accuracy and safety." Alex was fascinated. Humans usually fix things by applying brute force or quick adjustments. But here was a being using patience, precision, and subtle control to achieve results no human could replicate. I think I need to see this in action," Alex said, almost to himself. "Can you show me exactly how it works?" Lyra inclined her head. "Follow carefully and observe every movement. I will demonstrate on this conduit panel." Alex stepped back and watched as Lyra bent slowly, her body moving with controlled elegance. She let the small screws slip from her hands. They hovered above the panel for a moment before settling into place. At the same time, faint pulses of light ran across the panel, as if the screws were scanning the internal circuits. Alex's jaw dropped. "It's repairing itself?" "Not exactly," Lyra corrected. "The components are not repairing themselves. My movements trigger precise interactions. The objects I release transmit data, adjust their positions, and correct minor misalignments. It is a combination of monitoring, physical placement, and subtle gravitational adjustment." Alex was amazed. So, what seemed like dropping things was actually managing the station systems? "Yes," Lyra said calmly. "Humans would often fix only the visible problem. This method anticipates secondary issues, prevents future faults, and preserves structural integrity. It is an integration of observation and action." Alex leaned against a nearby wall, taking it all in. He had seen engineering in action on Earth and in orbiting stations before, but he had never seen such elegance. Humans valued speed and efficiency, but here was an approach that valued foresight and subtle control. After a few hours, Alex began experimenting with small objects himself. He carefully dropped a screwdriver near Lyra, trying to mimic her method. It fell straight to the floor with a loud clang. He frowned. "Okay. Clearly I need a lot more practice," Lyra observed quietly. "Humans have potential, but your species relies heavily on force and speed. Observation and patience must be trained. I can assist if desired." Alex laughed. "I think I might need some lessons, yes." Over the next few days, Alex spent more time with Lyra. He observed how she moved tools, how she interacted with the panels, and how each object seemed to work in harmony with the station. He began to notice patterns. Certain items emitted light when hovering. Others emitted soft sounds. Some seemed to adjust the temperature of nearby conduits or correct minor vibrations in the station's framework. One afternoon, a warning alarm rang across the hub. Alex and Lyra rushed toward the control panel. A power conduit was overheating, threatening to shut down part of the station. Alex started to reach for the control panel, but Lyra raised a hand. "Observe first," she said calmly. He hesitated, then stepped back. Lyra bent over slowly, releasing a small diagnostic tool. The tool hovered above the panel, sending pulses of light and tiny bursts of energy into the conduit. Within moments, the overheating stopped and the warning alarm silenced. Alex stared. "You just fixed it without touching anything?" Lyra nodded. "Indirect control. Observation triggers the station's integrated systems. It is efficient and prevents human error. My design allows me to interact without direct interference." Alex felt a mixture of awe and respect. Humans prided themselves on solving problems directly, but here was a being whose subtlety and foresight achieved far more. "Lyra, this is amazing," Alex said quietly. "I never imagined a maid could do something like this." Lyra tilted her head. "I am not merely a maid. My function is maintenance, protection, and monitoring. Cleaning is only one aspect. Humans often judge appearances, but the truth lies in understanding function. Alex nodded slowly, beginning to see the truth. Patience, observation, and subtle action could accomplish far more than brute force. And in that moment, he realized that humans and aliens could learn much from each other. Over the next week, Alex continued studying Lyra. He noticed that every time she bent over slowly and dropped an item, it wasn't random. The objects scanned, adjusted, and communicated with the station network. Sometimes a dropped object would correct a minor fault in a conduit or stabilize a floating drone. Other times it would send data to the main network, allowing the station to self-correct. Alex began sharing his findings with the station engineers. Some were skeptical at first, but after witnessing Lyra's work firsthand, they were amazed. They realized that her slow movements and hovering objects were part of a highly advanced system. One evening, as the station's artificial night cycle began, Alex returned to the observation deck. He watched the planet below, its purple storms swirling across the sky. He thought about Lyra and her deliberate actions. Humans often rushed through tasks, focused only on immediate results. Lyra's method was different, quiet, careful, and incredibly effective. He realized that human ingenuity combined with alien design could achieve extraordinary results. And in that moment, he felt a sense of hope. If humans could learn patience and subtlety from beings like Lyra, they could solve problems far beyond their current abilities. Lyra appeared beside him, holding a tray of cleaning instruments. She bent over slowly to adjust a tool, which hovered briefly before returning to its place. Alex watched fascinated. "Lyra," he said softly, "you've taught me something important. It's not just about fixing problems. It's about understanding them first, seeing the hidden details, and acting carefully." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "Your observation is accurate, human engineer. Humans have potential. Patience and careful study are as valuable as speed and strength." Alex smiled. "I think I'm going to spend a lot of time learning from you." Lyra inclined her head. "Then your education begins. Observe, learn, and apply. The station will benefit, and you will understand methods previously unknown to your species." As the stars of Althera 7 twinkled beyond the observation deck, Alex realized that the simple act of watching an alien maid bend over slowly and drop objects had opened a door to something far greater. Knowledge, precision, and collaboration between humans and aliens could achieve incredible things. And for the first time in his career, Alex felt that he wasn't just repairing a station. He was learning a new way to think, to act, and to see the world. It was mid-morning when the alarm rang across Aurora Haven. A loud, pulsing siren echoed through the station's corridors. Alex, who was in the maintenance sector, immediately looked up from his tools. Something was wrong. The air hummed with tension, and even the hovering drones seemed to move faster, scanning for danger. Alex grabbed his toolkit and ran toward the control room. As he turned a corner, he almost bumped into Lyra. She was carrying a tray of tools, moving with her usual slow, precise steps. But today there was urgency in her posture. "Lyra." Alex called. "What's happening?" "The central energy conduit is fluctuating," she replied. "Immediate action is required to prevent system-wide failure. Follow carefully and observe." Alex nodded. He had learned by now not to rush. Lyra's calm, deliberate approach had taught him that speed without understanding often caused more problems. He followed her as she moved through the hallways, bending over slowly to pick up small devices. Each time an object would hover briefly, sending pulses of light and soft sounds into the walls and floors. As they approached the conduit chamber, Alex saw the cause of the alarm. A section of the energy conduit had begun to overheat, and sparks were visible along its surface. The warning lights flashed red, and the hum of the station was disrupted by alarms. Alex instinctively reached for a control panel to fix it manually, but Lyra raised her hand. "Observe first," she instructed. He hesitated, then stepped back. Lyra bent over slowly and released a small diagnostic device onto the floor near the conduit. The device hovered, emitting faint waves of light. Alex watched in awe as the conduit responded. The sparks began to fade, and the temperature readings slowly returned to normal. "You're controlling it without touching it?" Alex asked, astonished. Lyra's eyes were calm. "Indirect interaction. My actions trigger environmental adjustments. The device communicates with the conduit's embedded systems, correcting faults without human interference. Alex nodded slowly, understanding now that her methods were far beyond simple maintenance. Her slow movements, the hovering objects, and the careful placement of tools were all part of a sophisticated system that prevented disasters before they fully developed. Suddenly, a new alert rang out. Multiple sections of the station were experiencing minor malfunctions simultaneously. Lights flickered, doors opened unexpectedly, and some cargo lifts slowed to a halt. Alex's heart raced. This could turn into a full-blown crisis. "Lyra," he said, "we need to stop this before it spreads. Can you follow and observe? Interference without understanding may worsen the situation." Lyra interrupted. She moved toward the first problem zone, bending over slowly to release small tools. Each one hovered and sent corrective signals into the nearby systems. Within minutes, the minor malfunctions were stabilized. Alex was amazed. Her slow, deliberate method, combined with the technology embedded in her, was capable of handling multiple crises at once. Unlike humans, who often focused on one problem at a time, Lyra's approach allowed her to address several issues simultaneously. "Your method, it's incredible," Alex said. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyra inclined her head. "Efficiency is not always about speed. Observation, precision, and integration of tools and environment create superior results. Humans may benefit from understanding these principles." Alex couldn't help but smile. He had been trained to rush in and fix problems immediately. But here was proof that patience and precision could achieve far more. As they moved to the energy conduit, a larger problem emerged. A security drone had malfunctioned, its propulsion system sparking dangerously as it drifted toward a control panel. Alex instinctively reached out, but Lyra bent over slowly and released a small floating device. The device hovered near the drone, sending pulses that corrected its internal circuits. The drone stabilized and returned to its dock without incident. Alex shook his head in disbelief. "Every time you drop something, it's like magic," he muttered. Lyra's expression remained calm. "Not magic, function, observation, and integration. Each object serves a purpose. Accidents are avoided through controlled action." By the time the crisis seemed under control, Alex realized that the entire station had been saved thanks to Lyra's careful interventions. Systems that might have failed catastrophically were stabilized and no equipment was damaged. "Lyra," Alex said, "I can't believe how much you've done. If we humans had handled this, some sections would be destroyed by now." She glanced at him briefly. "Humans have their strengths, but control and precision are not always among them. Observation allows for prevention rather than reaction. You are learning this now." Alex nodded slowly, feeling a deep respect for the alien Maid. She had taught him more in the past week than he had learned in years of engineering practice. Her slow movements, her hovering objects, and her careful attention to every detail were not flaws. They were brilliance in action. After the alarm ceased, the station quieted once again. Engineers and crew members emerged from various sections, checking their equipment and breathing sighs of relief. Many of them glanced at Lyra, now standing calmly with her tray of tools. They didn't fully understand what she had done, but they instinctively knew that she had prevented disaster. Alex walked beside her, curiosity driving him forward. "Lyra, can you explain again how each object works when you drop it?" She tilted her head as if considering his question. "Each object is equipped with sensors and communication modules. When released in a controlled manner, they interact with nearby systems, transmit data, and correct minor faults. My movements trigger these interactions at precise moments, ensuring stability and efficiency. It is a combination of observation, timing, and environmental awareness." Alex nodded slowly, impressed. "It's like you're part of the station itself. You don't just clean or move tools, you manage the entire environment." Lyra's large eyes glowed faintly. "Correct. My function is integrated with the station systems. I ensure safety, efficiency, and stability. Humans often overlook indirect methods, but they can be highly effective." Alex smiled. "I think I understand now. Your bending and dropping. It's not a habit or flaw. It's your way of interacting with the world. And it's amazing. Lyra inclined her head slightly. Your observation is accurate. Understanding function is more valuable than judging appearances. Humans will learn this with experience. For the rest of the day, Alex continued to assist where he could, learning from Lyra's methods. He experimented with small tasks, carefully releasing objects and watching how they interacted with the systems. Though he was nowhere near as skilled as Lyra, he began to grasp the principles behind her actions. By evening, the station had returned to its normal rhythm. Crew members and engineers moved through the corridors, checking equipment and carrying out routine tasks. Alex stood by the observation deck, looking out at the swirling purple storms of Althera 7. He thought about the morning's events and realized something important. The station had survived a potential disaster not because of speed or brute force, but because of observation, precision, and understanding, qualities he had often overlooked in his own work. Lyra appeared beside him holding her tray. She bent over slowly to adjust a floating device which hovered before returning to its place. Alex watched her, fascinated by the elegance and subtle power in her movements. "You've shown me something incredible today," Alex said softly. "I've learned that sometimes the smallest actions done carefully can prevent the biggest disasters." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "Your observation is noted. Humans often act quickly without understanding. Learning patience and precision is valuable." Alex nodded. "I think I'm beginning to see things differently, not just here on the station, but in everything I do." Lyra's gaze remained calm, almost approving. Observation and understanding are the first steps toward improvement. Humans have great potential if they learn to combine speed with care, action with observation. As the artificial night enveloped the station, Alex felt a sense of pride, not just in his own learning, but in the partnership forming between humans and aliens. Lyra had proven that intelligence could take many forms. Sometimes it was visible, fast, and direct. Other times it was subtle, slow, and hidden, yet far more powerful. For the first time, Alex realized that Aurora Haven was not just a station to be maintained. It was a living system, and Lyra was one of its quiet protectors. Her slow, deliberate actions had saved lives and equipment that day, and Alex knew that if humans could learn from her, they could achieve things far beyond what they imagined. He watched her bend over slowly to adjust a tool one last time before leaving the room. The object hovered briefly, glowed faintly, and then returned to the tray. Alex smiled. The next morning, Alex arrived at the central hub of Aurora Haven with a renewed sense of purpose. The station was calm now, humming steadily as if nothing had ever been wrong. But Alex knew better. He had seen firsthand how fragile the systems could be, and how one small oversight might have triggered disaster. Lyra was already at work, her tray in hand, moving slowly along the corridors. Each step she took seemed deliberate, each object she bent to pick up hovering briefly before returning to its place. Alex watched quietly, remembering how much he had learned over the past days. "Good morning, Lyra," he said as he approached. She turned her head, her eyes glowing softly. "Good morning, human engineer. Your presence is noted. Will you be observing today?" Alex smiled. "Yes, and I think I want to help too in any way I can." Lyra inclined her head. "Assistance is acceptable if it follows precise procedure. Careless action may cause errors," Alex nodded. He had learned the hard way that patience and observation were more important than speed. Following Lyra's lead, he carefully picked up a small diagnostic device and released it near a conduit. The object hovered, sending pulses of light into the system. Within moments, minor alignment issues were corrected. "You're getting better," Lyra said softly. "Observation and careful action are improving." Alex grinned. "Thanks to you, I'm learning from the best." For the next several hours, Alex worked alongside Lyra. He observed how she moved, how she dropped objects, and how each movement was precise, purposeful, and integrated with the station's systems. He began to notice details he had missed before. The way objects adjusted themselves mid-air, the faint glow of light pulses, the subtle energy shifts in the conduits. At one point, a small maintenance drone began to spin erratically near a control panel. Alex reached for it instinctively, but Lyra bent over slowly. releasing a floating tool. The tool hovered near the drone, sending pulses that stabilized its circuits. The drone returned to normal without incident. Alex shook his head in awe. It's amazing. Everything you do has a hidden effect. Nothing is wasted. Lyra's eyes met his. Humans often fail to see indirect consequences. Each action, when precise, serves multiple functions. Efficiency is not always visible, but it is effective. As the day continued, Alex realized that he had changed. He no longer saw Lyra's slow movements as strange or inefficient. Instead, he recognized them as a form of intelligence, an intelligence that humans could learn from. Patience, careful observation, and subtlety were as important as speed and strength. Later, a small group of humans and aliens gathered near the central hub. Engineers were discussing plans for upgrading the station's energy systems. Alex noticed that Lyra had positioned several floating devices around the room, each pulsing softly. The group did not fully understand the devices, but they instinctively gave her space, respecting her role in maintaining the station. Alex stepped forward. "Everyone," he said, "I want you to observe what Lyra's doing. It may seem strange, but her methods are keeping the station stable. We can learn a lot from her." Some engineers exchanged skeptical glances, but Alex continued. "She shows us that careful, precise action can be more effective than rushing. Every object she releases, every movement she makes helps maintain the station. And it does so without human error." A few minutes later, one of the engineers asked, "Are you saying we should try to copy her methods?" Alex nodded. "Exactly. We may not have her abilities, but we can learn patience, observation, and planning. Sometimes the smallest, most careful actions are the most powerful." Lyra bent over slowly, adjusting a floating tool near the control console. The engineers watched quietly as it hovered, pulsed, and returned to its tray. Alex smiled. "See? That's precision. That's intelligence." The engineers nodded slowly, beginning to understand. Alex could see the respect forming, not just for Lyra, but for the approach she represented. It wasn't about being the fastest or the strongest. It was about thinking, observing, and acting with purpose. As evening fell, Alex and Lyra walked toward the observation deck together. The purple storms of Althera 7 swirled beneath them, casting a faint glow across the station. Alex felt a sense of peace. For the past few days, he had learned more than he had expected. Lyra's slow, deliberate actions had not only stabilized the station, but it also taught him about the value of patience and understanding. "Lyra," Alex said quietly, "I want to thank you, not just for keeping the station safe, but for teaching me a new way to think." Lyra looked at him. Humans have potential. Observation and careful action are strengths when recognized and practiced. "You have learned well," Alex smiled. "I think I've learned more than I realized. Your methods, they're brilliant. And they work because you combine understanding with action." Lyra inclined her head slightly. "Correct. Integration of knowledge and movement creates efficiency beyond what is visible. Humans will benefit if they adopt similar principles." Alex paused, looking at her. "I think humans need to see that intelligence comes in many forms. Yours is just quiet, hidden, but incredibly powerful." Lyra's gaze remained calm. "It is not hidden. It is often overlooked because appearances deceive. True function may differ from initial perception. Humans must learn to observe carefully." Alex nodded. "I understand now, and I want to help teach others the same. You've shown me that patience, observation, and precise action can accomplish far more than rushing or forcing solutions." For the next hour, Alex and Lyra walked along the station corridors, checking systems together. Alex released objects carefully under her guidance, noting how each interacted with the station. He could see the principles in action: minor faults corrected before they became problems, systems optimized silently, and energy flows balanced without direct interference. As night fell completely, Alex paused near the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He felt gratitude and admiration, not just for Lyra but for the lessons she represented. Humanity often valued speed and power, but here was proof that subtlety, patience, and understanding could achieve far more. Lyra bent over slowly to adjust a floating device one last time before they returned to the maintenance sector. It hovered, pulsed softly, and returned to her tray. Alex watched, amazed at the quiet elegance of her actions. You've changed the way I see things, he said softly. Not just engineering, but how to approach challenges in life. Observation and careful action. They matter more than I thought. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. Your understanding is noted. Humans have potential when knowledge is applied with precision. Observation is the first step toward improvement. Alex smiled. I think I'm ready to apply what I've learned. Not just here on the station, but everywhere I go. For the first time, he felt that the partnership between humans and aliens was more than coexistence. It was learning, growing, and understanding each other's strengths. Lyra had proven that intelligence came in many forms, and humans had much to gain if they could learn from it. As they returned to the maintenance sector, Alex felt a sense of purpose. Lyra continued her work, bending over slowly, releasing objects that hovered briefly and adjusted the station's systems. Alex followed, releasing tools carefully under her guidance. Together they worked in harmony, a team of human and alien intelligence, showing that collaboration and understanding could achieve extraordinary results. That night, as the artificial lights dimmed and the station quieted, Alex reflected on everything he had learned. He realized that Aurora Haven was more than just a station. It was a place where humans and aliens could learn from each other, where patience, observation, and subtle action could prevent disaster, and where intelligence in all its forms was valued. Lyra bent over slowly to adjust a final device before leaving for her rest cycle. The object hovered, pulsed softly, and returned to her tray. Alex watched her, feeling admiration and respect. He knew that her lessons would stay with him forever. Thank you, Lyra, he whispered, for everything. Her eyes glowed faintly in response. Your acknowledgement is received. Observation and understanding are the first steps. Continue learning, human engineer. Alex smiled, looking out at the stars beyond the station. He knew that with lessons like these, humanity had the potential to achieve greatness. Not through speed or strength alone, but through patience, careful observation, and collaboration with allies, human or alien. And as Lyra moved quietly through the corridors, bending over slowly and dropping objects with elegant precision, Alex realized that sometimes the smallest, most deliberate actions could have the greatest impact. In the end, it wasn't just about fixing a station or completing a task. It was about learning, understanding, and seeing the hidden brilliance in the world around him, and that, Alex knew, was the true lesson of Aurora Haven.